They said they forgot to pick me up from the airport, claiming their phones were dead and they lost track of time. But when I pulled up to their house 3 hours later in my brand new Tesla Model S Plaid, their expressions told a different story, entirely. The same parents who had spent years calling me their disappointment and telling neighbors I was still figuring things out, suddenly couldn't find words as I stepped out of a car worth more than their annual household income. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. This is the story of how their neglect became the catalyst for building an empire they never saw coming, and how one forgotten airport pickup revealed the true cost of underestimating your own child. My name is Jessica Chen, and I'm writing this from my corner office overlooking downtown Seattle, 3 years after the airport incident that changed everything between my parents and me forever. The irony isn't lost on me that the daughter they consistently dismissed as their lost cause would eventually become someone they desperately wanted to claim credit for creating. But understanding how we reached that point requires going back to the beginning, to years of systematic disappointment and conditional love that shaped every decision I made afterward. The morning of October 12th started like any other business trip conclusion, with me gathering my belongings from the Four Seasons in Chicago after closing a deal that would net my consulting firm $2.7 million in revenue over the next 18 months. The client, a Fortune 500 manufacturing company, had been skeptical when they first met with our team 6 months earlier. They expected traditional consulting approaches from established firms with decades of corporate history, not innovative. Solutions from a 28-year-old woman who had built her practice from scratch in just 4 years. But results speak louder than credentials, and our data analytics methodology had identified inefficiencies in their supply chain that traditional consultants had missed for years. The projected cost savings exceeded their initial investment by 400%, creating measurable value that transformed skepticism into enthusiastic partnership. Walking out of that boardroom with signed contracts felt like validation of every risk I had taken since leaving my corporate job to start Chen Strategic Solutions. The Uber ride to O'Hare gave me time to process the magnitude of what had just occurred. This single contract represented more revenue than my parents had earned in their combined careers as a high school teacher and postal worker. Yet I knew their reaction would focus on concerns about business stability and the risks of entrepreneurship, rather than celebrating achievement that exceeded anything they had imagined possible. Their perspective on success remained frozen in 1985, when steady employment and pension plans represented the pinnacle of career achievement. My flight to Seattle had been delayed by 2 hours due to weather conditions, but I had texted my parents the updated arrival time and confirmed they would pick me up as planned. The delay actually worked in my favor, giving me additional time to review the Chicago contracts and plan implementation strategies for the next phase of client engagement. The first-class cabin provided a quiet workspace where I could focus on technical documentation without the distractions that would inevitably surface once I returned home to family dynamics that hadn't evolved since my teenage years. The relationship with my parents had been complicated long before I started my business, rooted in their inability to understand ambition that extended beyond their own limited experiences with career development and financial achievement. Dad had worked for the Postal Service for 32 years, taking pride in steady employment and reliable benefits that provided security for our middle-class lifestyle. Mom taught 4th grade at the same elementary school for 26 years, earning respect within the local education community while maintaining modest expectations about professional advancement and income potential. Their approach to parenting reflected this same conservative mindset, emphasizing stability over innovation and conformity over entrepreneurial risk-taking. When I had expressed interest in business during high school, they encouraged me toward teaching or nursing, careers they understood and respected. My acceptance to the University of Washington's business program had generated mild support, tempered by concerns about student loan debt and uncertain job prospects in competitive corporate. Environments. College had been my first taste of independence and intellectual challenge that extended beyond my parents' comfort zones. The business program exposed me to case studies of successful entrepreneurs who had built companies from nothing, creating value through innovative thinking and strategic risk management. My professors encouraged analytical thinking and creative problem-solving that felt natural after years of feeling intellectually constrained by family expectations that prioritized safety over achievement. During my junior year, I had developed a business plan for a consulting firm that would help mid-sized companies optimize their operations through data analysis and process improvement. The plan earned recognition in a university-wide competition, generating interest from investors and potential clients who saw market demand for specialized services that larger consulting firms often overlooked due to project size limitations. But when I shared this achievement with my parents, their response focused on the impracticality of starting a business, rather than celebrating recognition from industry professionals. After graduation, I had accepted a position with a respected consulting firm in Seattle, hoping to gain experience and credibility that would eventually support my entrepreneurial goals. The job provided excellent training in client management, project development, and industry best practices, but the corporate environment felt restrictive after years of academic freedom and creative exploration. Watching senior partners implement conservative solutions while avoiding innovative approaches that might carry perceived risk reinforced my conviction that independent practice could deliver superior results for clients willing to embrace new methodologies. The decision to leave corporate employment after 3 years had created the deepest rift yet in my relationship with my parents. They viewed my resignation as abandonment of security and professional respectability in favor of risky experimentation that would likely end in failure and financial hardship. No amount of explanation about market opportunities, client demand, or competitive advantages could overcome their fundamental belief that employment within established organizations represented the only path to legitimate career success. Starting Chen Strategic Solutions had required personal sacrifice and financial risk that my parents interpreted as evidence of poor judgment rather than entrepreneurial courage. I had used my savings, taken out a small business loan, and worked 18-hour days to establish credibility with potential clients who had no reason to trust an unknown consultant with limited track record. The first year generated barely enough revenue to cover basic operating expenses, reinforcing my parents' concerns about business viability and my decision-making capabilities. But persistence and dedication to client results had gradually built a reputation for delivering measurable value through innovative approaches that larger firms couldn't or wouldn't implement. Word-of-mouth referrals from satisfied clients led to increasingly sophisticated projects with higher revenue potential, creating sustainable growth that exceeded my most optimistic projections. By the end of year 2, Chen Strategic Solutions had generated enough profit to support comfortable lifestyle, while reinvesting substantially in business development and capability expansion. The third year had brought breakthrough contracts with Fortune 500 companies that recognized the competitive advantages of working with specialized consultants who could provide personalized attention and innovative solutions. These relationships generated recurring revenue streams that established financial stability while creating opportunities for further growth through expanded service offerings and strategic partnerships. The Chicago contract represented culmination of systematic business development that had transformed a risky startup into a thriving enterprise. Yet despite documented success and financial achievement that exceeded their lifetime earnings, my parents continued to view my business as temporary phase that would eventually be abandoned in favor of real employment with traditional benefits and corporate security. Their inability to recognize entrepreneurial success created ongoing tension that affected every family interaction, from holiday gatherings to casual phone conversations that invariably included suggestions about job opportunities at local companies or government agencies. The airport pickup arrangement had been made during a brief phone call the previous week, when I had mentioned the Chicago business trip and requested transportation assistance due to my car being in the shop for scheduled Maintenance. Mom had readily agreed, expressing rare interest in hearing about my travels and work developments. The conversation had felt more supportive than usual, creating optimism that family relationships might be improving as business success became increasingly difficult to dismiss or minimize. Landing at SeaTac International Airport at 6:47 p.m., I had immediately checked my phone for messages from my parents about pickup logistics or potential delays. Finding no communication, I had assumed they were already en route or waiting in the designated pickup area as planned. The Chicago success had put me in an exceptionally good mood, creating anticipation for sharing positive news about contract negotiations and client relationships that demonstrated the viability of entrepreneurial career choices. 20 minutes of waiting in the pickup zone had generated mild concern, but no serious worry, given Seattle traffic conditions and the possibility of parking challenges during peak travel hours. I had used the time to respond to client emails and review project timelines that required attention during the coming week. The business momentum created by the Chicago contract demanded immediate follow-up activities that would solidify client relationships while identifying opportunities for additional revenue generation. After 45 minutes without contact or arrival, concern had escalated to genuine worry about potential emergencies or unexpected complications that might have prevented my parents from fulfilling their pickup commitment. Multiple attempts to reach them by phone had gone directly to voicemail, creating anxiety about possible accidents or health issues that could explain their absence and communication failure. The silence felt uncharacteristic given their usual reliability regarding family obligations and scheduled commitments. An hour and 15 minutes after landing, with still no word from my parents, I had been forced to confront the possibility that they had simply forgotten about the pickup arrangement, despite our confirmed conversation just 3 days earlier. The realization created a familiar mixture of disappointment and resignation that characterized many interactions with parents who consistently prioritized their own convenience over family responsibilities when those responsibilities felt burdensome or inconvenient. Standing in the pickup area with business travelers being collected by family members, colleagues, and transportation services, I had felt the familiar isolation that came from having parents who viewed my achievements as insignificant and my needs as optional considerations in their daily planning. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The contrast between my professional success and personal family dynamics created cognitive dissonance that highlighted the emotional cost of entrepreneurial independence when that independence wasn't supported or understood by those closest to you. The decision to call a rideshare service had felt like admission of defeat, acknowledging that relying on family support remained unrealistic, despite years of hoping that business success might eventually earn their respect and consideration. But as I had waited for the Uber driver, an idea had begun forming that would transform this disappointment into an opportunity for demonstrating exactly how much their perception of my circumstances differed from reality. Chen Strategic Solutions had recently completed its most profitable quarter in company history, generating sufficient cash flow to support strategic investments in business development and personal asset acquisition that would position the firm for continued growth. The Chicago contract added substantial financial resources that created opportunities for purchases I had been considering, but postponing due to conservative financial management practices that prioritized business stability over personal spending. One of those postponed purchases had been upgrading my vehicle from the reliable but modest Honda Accord that had served me well during the startup years, but no longer reflected the professional image appropriate for client interactions with Fortune 500 executives. I had researched luxury vehicles that would provide both transportation and marketing value, settling on the Tesla Model S Plaid as the optimal combination of environmental responsibility, technological innovation, and status symbol recognition that would enhance rather than detract from professional credibility. The Tesla dealership in Bellevue had been courting my business for months after I had test-driven several models during the vehicle research process. The sales manager had provided his personal contact information and assured me that financing, approval, and immediate delivery could be arranged within hours for qualified buyers with excellent credit and substantial down payment capability. The Chicago contract success had created exactly the financial confidence necessary to move forward with this strategic purchase. Standing in the airport pickup area, with growing certainty that my parents had forgotten their commitment, I had called the Tesla dealership to inquire about immediate availability and delivery options. The sales manager, Marcus Thompson, had answered personally despite the late hour, expressing enthusiasm about finalizing a transaction we had been discussing for several weeks. The specific Model S Plaid I had test-driven remained available, and the dealership could complete all paperwork and deliver the vehicle to my location within 2 hours. The financial arrangements had been remarkably straightforward given my business banking relationships and credit history established through 4 years of successful entrepreneurial activity. The down payment transfer could be processed electronically using business account funds that had been designated for strategic investments in company growth and professional development. The monthly payments represented less than 3% of current revenue projections, making the purchase fiscally responsible while achieving personal and professional objectives. Marcus had personally delivered the Tesla to SeaTac Airport exactly 93 minutes after our phone conversation, arriving with all documentation completed and ready for immediate transfer. The metallic blue paint and premium interior package created exactly the impression I had envisioned for client transportation and professional representation. More importantly, the vehicle represented tangible evidence of entrepreneurial success that could not be dismissed or minimized by family members who preferred to view my business as hobby rather than legitimate career achievement. The drive, from the airport to my parents' house in Tacoma, provided 37 minutes to process the emotional significance of what was about to occur. This wouldn't simply be arrival in a new vehicle. It would be demonstration of financial capability and professional achievement that directly contradicted every assumption they had made about my career trajectory and life choices. The Tesla represented independence, success, and strategic thinking that extended far beyond their framework for evaluating career development and personal accomplishment. My parents lived in the same 3-bedroom Rambler they had purchased in 1987, a modest home in an established neighborhood that reflected their conservative approach to financial management and lifestyle choices. The house had appreciated modestly over the decades, but remained representative of middle-class stability rather than wealth accumulation or investment sophistication. Their newest vehicle was a 2018 Toyota Camry that Dad had purchased used with careful attention to reliability ratings and maintenance costs rather than luxury features or status considerations. The neighborhood streets were familiar territory from my childhood and adolescence, lined with similar homes occupied by families who shared my parents' values regarding steady employment, incremental advancement, and financial security through traditional savings and retirement planning. Most residents worked for government agencies, school districts, or established corporations that provided pension benefits and health insurance coverage. Entrepreneurial risk-taking and business ownership were rare anomalies that generated more concern than admiration from neighbors who equated security with success. Pulling into my parents' driveway at 10:23 p.m., 3 hours and 36 minutes after my scheduled pickup time, I had felt a complex mixture of anticipation, vindication, and sadness about the family dynamics that had made this demonstration necessary. The Tesla's advanced lighting system illuminated the modest driveway and aging garage door, creating stark visual contrast between my current circumstances and the environment where I had been raised to expect limited achievement and conservative life choices. The house lights were on, indicating my parents were home and presumably available for the pickup they had forgotten or deliberately avoided. Their Camry sat in its usual position, suggesting they had been home all evening rather than dealing with emergency situations or unexpected complications that might explain their absence from the airport. The evidence pointed toward simple forgetfulness or casual dismissal of family obligations when those obligations conflicted with personal convenience or entertainment preferences. Before approaching the front door, I had taken a moment to appreciate the magnitude of what had been achieved through 4 years of entrepreneurial dedication, client focus, and strategic business development that my parents had consistently dismissed as impractical experimentation. The Tesla represented tangible proof of financial success and professional competence that could not be explained away through luck, family connections, or market timing. Every feature of the vehicle had been earned through innovative thinking, client satisfaction, and business acumen that contradicted their assumptions about my capabilities and judgment. The walk from the driveway to the front door covered the same path I had traveled thousands of times during childhood and adolescence, but tonight felt fundamentally different due to the evidence of achievement parked behind me. This wasn't the struggling young woman who had moved back home briefly after college graduation while searching for employment opportunities. This wasn't the naive daughter who had quit a stable job to pursue entrepreneurial fantasies against parental advice and family wisdom. This was a successful business owner whose accomplishments exceeded their lifetime earnings while maintaining independence and professional respectability they had never believed possible. The doorbell's familiar chime announced my arrival just as it had during countless childhood returns from school, social activities, and later visits during college breaks and early career development. But the person standing on the front porch bore little resemblance to the uncertain young woman who had sought family approval and guidance throughout previous phases of life development. The Chicago contract success had created confidence and financial security that transformed family dynamics from dependent child seeking approval to accomplished adult demonstrating achievement that demanded recognition and respect. Mom answered the door within seconds, her expression shifting from casual greeting to visible shock as she processed my presence 3.5 hours after the scheduled pickup time. Her initial words revealed the casual attitude toward family obligations that had characterized the forgotten airport commitment, while simultaneously expressing surprise at my independent arrival that eliminated their need to fulfill promises, made but apparently forgotten. "Jessica, how did you get home? We were just talking about heading to the airport," she announced with the kind of transparent dishonesty that indicated they had given no thought to pickup obligations until confronted with evidence of their neglect. "Your father's phone died and mine was charging, so we lost track of time watching that new series on Netflix. We figured you would call if there were any problems with your flight schedule or arrival time." The explanation contained layers of casual deception and responsibility deflection that revealed their true priorities regarding family commitments versus personal entertainment preferences. Both parents owned multiple charging devices and backup power sources that made simultaneous phone death highly unlikely. More significantly, the lost track of time excuse implied that my airport pickup ranked below television programming in their hierarchy of evening obligations and responsibilities. Dad appeared behind Mom with the sheepish expression of someone caught in transparent dishonesty, but unwilling to acknowledge the full scope of their negligence. His defensive posture suggested awareness that their excuse lacked credibility while maintaining determination to avoid direct accountability for broken commitments and family obligation failures. The combination of guilt and defiance had characterized many previous interactions when their actions contradicted stated values about family priorities and parental responsibilities. "We were definitely going to leave soon," Dad added with emphasis. That implied imminent departure rather than hours of entertainment that had displaced pickup obligations. "Traffic from Tacoma to the airport takes at least 45 minutes this time of night, so we wanted to make sure we didn't arrive too early and have to wait in the pickup zone. Airlines are always changing arrival times anyway, so we figured it was better to wait for confirmation before making the drive." The rationalization revealed sophisticated mental gymnastics designed to transform neglect into strategic planning while avoiding acknowledgement of forgotten commitments and broken promises. Their explanations grew more elaborate as they recognized the weakness of initial excuses, creating layers of justification that made their negligence appear thoughtful rather than careless. The pattern matched previous incidents when family obligations conflicted with personal preferences or required inconvenient schedule adjustments. My response had been carefully considered during the drive from the airport, designed to address their negligence while introducing evidence of changed circumstances that would fundamentally alter family dynamics and future interactions. Tesla's presence in their driveway represented opportunity for education about my actual financial situation and professional achievement that they had consistently underestimated or dismissed. This moment required strategic communication that would maximize impact while maintaining dignity and family relationships. "It's actually fine that you forgot," I replied with calm confidence that indicated independence from their transportation assistance and approval. I ended up buying a new car while I was waiting, so the ride home gave me a chance to test the performance capabilities and familiarize myself with the advanced technology features. Sometimes unexpected circumstances create opportunities for positive developments that wouldn't have occurred under normal planned situations. The casual mention of vehicle purchase during airport waiting time created visible confusion as my parents processed the implications of acquiring transportation during what should have been a temporary delay. Their understanding of car buying involved weeks of research, dealer negotiations, financing applications, and careful budget consideration that made immediate purchase seem impossible or financially irresponsible. The suggestion that I had purchased a vehicle as casual solution to their transportation failure challenged their assumptions about my financial capabilities and decision-making processes. Mom's expression shifted from defensive explanation toward genuine curiosity, mixed with concern about potential impulsive spending that might indicate financial irresponsibility or emotional reaction to their pickup failure. Her questions carried underlying assumptions about my business income and asset management that had remained frozen at startup levels despite years of company growth and increased profitability. The family narrative about my career had never evolved beyond risky experimentation phase that preceded inevitable return to traditional employment. "You bought a car at the airport?" Mom asked with maternal concern that masked deeper anxiety about my financial judgment and business stability. "Jessica, honey, that seems like a very expensive reaction to a simple miscommunication about pickup timing. Car salespeople are trained to pressure customers into immediate decisions that often lead to buyers' remorse and financial problems. Maybe you should reconsider this purchase and talk to someone about more practical transportation options that fit your actual budget and income situation." The assumption that vehicle purchase represented emotional reaction rather than planned strategic decision revealed the persistent gap between their perception of my circumstances and the financial reality created by 4 years of successful business development. Their framework for understanding major purchases remained rooted in careful budgeting and extended consideration that reflected their conservative approach to money management and risk assessment. The possibility that I possessed sufficient resources for immediate luxury vehicle acquisition fell outside their conceptual framework for my financial capabilities. Dad's response built upon Mom's concern, while adding his own perspective about responsible financial management and the dangers of impulsive spending that could jeopardize long-term financial security. His postal service background had reinforced systematic approaches to major purchases that emphasized research, comparison shopping, and careful consideration of long-term financial implications. The suggestion that I had acquired a vehicle during airport waiting time contradicted everything he understood about responsible money management and strategic planning. Dealerships stay open late specifically to pressure people into hasty decisions, Dad observed with paternal authority designed to provide guidance about financial responsibility and strategic thinking. The SMART approach involves researching multiple options, comparing prices from different dealers, and taking time to consider whether the purchase aligns with your actual needs and income capabilities. Car payments can become serious burdens for people whose income isn't guaranteed through traditional employment structures. His analysis revealed persistent categorization of my business income as uncertain and potentially temporary, requiring more conservative financial management than traditional employment salaries. Despite 4 years of consistent profitability and growth, he continued viewing Chen's strategic solutions as risky venture that might collapse without warning, leaving me unable to meet financial obligations created through optimistic spending decisions. The possibility that my business generated sufficient cash flow for luxury purchases remained outside his conceptual framework for entrepreneurial financial reality. The conversation was unfolding exactly as I had anticipated during the drive. From the airport, with both parents focusing on perceived financial irresponsibility rather than questioning how I had acquired resources for immediate vehicle purchase. Their concern about my decision-making capabilities provided perfect setup for revealing the Tesla's actual value and the financial achievement it represented. The moment required careful timing to maximize educational impact while demonstrating respect for their parental concern and family relationships. "I appreciate your concern about the financial implications," I responded with measured patience that acknowledged their perspective while preparing to introduce evidence that would challenge their assumptions. "But I think you might be operating with outdated information about my business income and financial situation. Perhaps it would be helpful if you saw the actual vehicle I purchased, so you can better understand the context for this decision and what it represents about current business performance and financial planning capabilities." The suggestion that they examine the vehicle created opportunity for dramatic revelation while maintaining conversational flow that felt natural rather than confrontational. Leading them outside to discover the Tesla would provide visual evidence of financial achievement that could not be dismissed or minimized through alternative explanations. The moment required physical movement that would create natural transition from explanation to demonstration, allowing the vehicle itself to communicate messages about success and achievement that words alone could not convey effectively. Mom's curiosity overcame her concern about financial irresponsibility as she moved toward the front door with Dad following close behind. Their expectation clearly involved examining a modest used vehicle that represented reasonable transportation solution within limited budget constraints. The possibility that my airport car purchase might involve luxury vehicle completely outside their price range had not occurred to them based on their persistent assumptions about my business income and financial management capabilities. The walk from front door to driveway covered only 23 steps, but the journey represented transition from family assumptions based on outdated information toward confrontation with evidence that would fundamentally challenge their understanding of my professional circumstances and financial achievement. Each step created mounting anticipation as they approached visual proof that their daughter had built something substantial during years they had spent dismissing her career choices and questioning her judgment. The Tesla's presence in their modest driveway created immediate visual impact that exceeded my most optimistic expectations for dramatic revelation. The vehicle's sophisticated design and premium features appeared almost surreal against the backdrop of their middle-class neighborhood and aging garage door. The contrast between my achievement and their expectations became physically manifest through automotive excellence that represented financial success they had never imagined possible for their entrepreneurial daughter. Mom stopped walking approximately 10 feet from the Tesla, her expression frozen in processing mode as she attempted to reconcile the luxury vehicle with her understanding of my financial circumstances and business income. The metallic blue paint reflected their porch lighting in ways that emphasized the premium nature of materials and manufacturing quality that extended far beyond basic transportation functionality. Every design element communicated sophistication and expense that challenged fundamental assumptions about my purchasing power and professional achievement. Dad's reaction involved careful visual examination of details that revealed his growing awareness that this vehicle represented financial investment far exceeding anything he had anticipated. His postal service background had provided extensive knowledge about vehicle values and market pricing through daily interactions with diverse neighborhoods and family circumstances. The Tesla's obvious luxury features and advanced technology indicated purchase price that challenged everything he thought he knew about my business income and financial situation. "Jessica, Mom began, with voice that carried mixture of shock, confusion, and dawning realization that her understanding of my circumstances required fundamental revision. "This car must have cost." Her sentence trailed off as she processed implications of vehicle value that exceeded their annual household income while representing casual purchase during airport waiting time. The mathematical reality of Tesla pricing created cognitive dissonance that challenged years of assumptions about my financial capabilities and business success. The moment had arrived for complete honesty about business performance and financial achievement that would establish new foundation for family relationships going forward. Their shock provided optimal opportunity for education about entrepreneurial success that had been building systematically while they remained focused on perceived risks and limitations. The Teslas served as tangible proof that their concerns about business viability had been unfounded, while their dismissal of my career choices had been based on incomplete information and outdated assumptions. "The Model S Plaid has a base price of $134,000, I replied with matter-of-fact precision that emphasized the routine nature of this expenditure within my current financial circumstances. "But with the premium interior, package, enhanced autopilot features, and extended warranty coverage, the total investment came to $147,863. The dealership provided immediate financing approval, and I was able to complete the entire transaction during the time I spent waiting for pickup that never arrived. The specific dollar amounts created immediate context for understanding the magnitude of financial achievement that had been dismissed or ignored during years of family conversations about career development and life choices. The casual mention of extended warranty coverage and premium features emphasized that this purchase represented strategic planning rather than emotional reaction, while the financing approval demonstrated established creditworthiness and income verification that supported luxury vehicle acquisition. Both parents stood in stunned silence as they processed the financial implications of my casual explanation, while examining physical evidence that supported every claim about purchase price and premium features. The Tesla's obvious quality and sophisticated technology confirmed that my business had generated sufficient income to support expenditures that exceeded their lifetime savings while maintaining financial responsibility and strategic planning that ensured continued business growth and personal security. The silence stretched for nearly 2 minutes as Mom and Dad attempted to reconcile this new information with their persistent narrative about my risky career choices and uncertain financial future. Their framework for understanding entrepreneurial business development had never included possibilities for rapid wealth accumulation or luxury lifestyle achievement that exceeded traditional employment outcomes. The cognitive dissonance required fundamental reassessment of assumptions that had shaped family relationships for the previous 4 years. This was exactly the moment I had been working toward since starting Chen Strategic Solutions, when family skepticism would be replaced by recognition that their daughter had built something substantial through innovative thinking, client dedication, and strategic business development that exceeded their most optimistic projections. The Tesla represented more than transportation. It symbolized independence, achievement, and professional competence that demanded respect rather than continued concern about practical career choices and financial responsibility. The evening was just beginning, and there was so much more they needed to understand about the empire their forgotten daughter had been quietly building, while they worried about her future and questioned her judgment. The foundation of everything that led to this moment in their driveway began 4 years earlier, when I made the decision that would define every aspect of my professional trajectory and personal identity. Leaving Pemberton and Associates, one of Seattle's most prestigious consulting firms, hadn't been an impulsive reaction to workplace frustration or sudden entrepreneurial inspiration. The choice represented culmination of systematic observation about market inefficiencies and client needs that established firms consistently failed to address due to bureaucratic limitations and risk-averse corporate cultures that prioritized billable hours over innovative solutions. Working at Pemberton had provided invaluable education about consulting methodologies, client relationship management, and project implementation strategies that would later become foundational elements of Chen's strategic solutions. But the experience also revealed frustrating limitations within traditional firm structures that prevented optimal client service and meaningful problem-solving that could create lasting organizational improvement. Senior partners routinely rejected innovative approaches in favor of proven methodologies that generated predictable revenue while avoiding potential liability exposure that might accompany creative solutions. The breaking point had occurred during a manufacturing optimization project for a mid-sized aerospace component supplier struggling with quality control issues that threatened major client relationships and long-term business viability. My analysis had identified systematic problems in their production workflow that could be resolved through relatively simple process modifications and technology upgrades requiring minimal capital investment. The proposed solutions would reduce defect rates by approximately 67% while increasing production efficiency and worker satisfaction through elimination of repetitive manual tasks that contributed to both quality problems and employee turnover. Pemberton's senior partner on the project, Harold Whitman, had dismissed my recommendations as untested methodologies that could expose the firm to liability concerns if implementation results failed to meet projections. His preference involved recommending comprehensive equipment replacement and facility reorganization that would cost the client 4 times more than my proposed solutions, while generating substantially higher consulting fees for Pemberton through extended implementation timeline and additional service requirements. The ethical implications of this decision had crystallized my growing conviction that independent practice could deliver superior value for clients while maintaining professional integrity that aligned with my personal values about honest business. Relationships. Watching Harold present recommendations that prioritized firm revenue over client benefit had eliminated any remaining doubt about the necessity of establishing my own practice that could implement optimal solutions without corporate profit maximization interfering with client service excellence. My resignation from Pemberton had surprised colleagues who viewed my position as enviable career opportunity within one of the region's most respected professional service firms. The stable salary, comprehensive benefits package, and partnership, track positioning represented everything my parents considered essential for career security and professional respectability. But remaining within that environment would have required accepting systematic compromise of professional standards and client service quality that felt incompatible with my long-term career objectives and personal integrity. The decision to name my new firm, Chen Strategic Solutions, reflected careful consideration about brand positioning and market differentiation that would communicate specialized expertise while maintaining professional credibility with sophisticated clients. The emphasis on strategic thinking and solution development distinguished my approach from traditional consulting models that focused on problem identification and recommendation development, rather than practical implementation and measurable results achievement. Initial client acquisition had required creative approaches to business development since I lacked the referral networks and institutional relationships that established firms leveraged for new business generation. Cold calling potential clients had produced limited results because decision-makers typically preferred working with firms whose reputations and capabilities were already established through previous client experiences and industry recognition. The challenge involved demonstrating competence and reliability without track record that would provide evidence of successful project completion and client satisfaction. My breakthrough had come through strategic networking at industry conferences and professional association meetings where I could engage potential clients in substantive conversations about business challenges and solution approaches without formal sales pressure or competitive disadvantage relative to larger firms. These interactions allowed me to demonstrate analytical thinking and innovative problem-solving capabilities that differentiated my approach from traditional consulting methodologies, while building personal relationships that could evolve into professional opportunities. The first major client, Meridian Manufacturing, had engaged Chen Strategic Solutions to address persistent quality control issues in their injection molding operations that were generating customer complaints and threatening long-term contracts with major automotive suppliers. Traditional consulting firms had recommended expensive equipment upgrades and facility modifications that exceeded Meridian's capital budget, while requiring extended implementation timelines that could jeopardize existing client relationships. My analysis had identified the root cause as inadequate quality monitoring during production cycles rather than equipment deficiencies or facility design problems. The solution involved implementing real-time quality tracking systems and modifying operator training protocols to emphasize prevention rather than detection of defective products. The total implementation cost was 87% lower than previous recommendations, while delivering superior results that exceeded client expectations and strengthened their competitive positioning within the automotive supply chain. Meridian's success story had generated referrals to other manufacturing companies facing similar operational challenges that traditional consultants had addressed through expensive solutions requiring major capital investment. Word-of-mouth recommendations from satisfied clients created sustainable business development that didn't require aggressive marketing or promotional activities that might compromise professional credibility or client relationship quality. The second year had brought diversification into technology sector consulting as Seattle's growing startup community required operational expertise that could help emerging companies scale efficiently without bureaucratic overhead that might slow innovation or increase operational costs unnecessarily. These projects involved different skill sets and industry knowledge, but similar analytical approaches that emphasized practical solutions and measurable results, rather than theoretical frameworks or academic models that looked impressive in presentations, but provided limited implementation value. Working with technology companies had expanded my understanding of venture capital funding cycles, intellectual property protection strategies, and regulatory compliance requirements that governed different aspects of business development within highly competitive market environments. The experience provided valuable education about scaling challenges and resource optimization that would later inform my own business growth strategies and client service delivery models. One particularly successful engagement involved helping a software development company optimize their project management processes to reduce development timelines while improving code quality and client satisfaction ratings. The client had been struggling with missed deadlines and budget overruns that threatened investor confidence and market positioning within their specialized niche. Traditional project management consultants had recommended comprehensive methodology, overhauls that would require extensive employee retraining and system implementation costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. My approach focused on identifying specific bottlenecks in their existing processes that created delays and quality issues rather than replacing functional systems with theoretical improvements that might create additional complications. The solution involved targeted modifications to communication protocols and quality assurance procedures that cost less than $15,000 to implement while reducing project completion times by 32% and eliminating most client complaints about deliverable quality. The software company's improved performance had attracted attention from venture capital firms seeking portfolio companies with operational excellence and scalable business models. Their successful funding round generated substantial publicity within Seattle's technology community, while establishing Chen Strategic Solutions' reputation for delivering measurable results that enhanced client competitiveness and growth potential. By the third year, client demand had grown sufficiently to require careful project selection and pricing strategies that maximized revenue while maintaining service quality standards that had established my competitive advantage within the consulting market. The luxury of choosing assignments based on strategic fit and learning opportunities rather than financial necessity represented significant milestone in business development that validated my decision to leave traditional employment for entrepreneurial independence. The geographic expansion beyond Seattle had begun organically as satisfied clients relocated to other markets or recommended my services to business partners and industry contacts in different regions. Managing projects in Portland, Vancouver, And eventually, California required developing remote collaboration capabilities and project management systems that could maintain service quality standards regardless of physical location constraints. Technology investments in video conferencing, project management software, and document collaboration platforms had enabled seamless client communication and project coordination that often surpassed the service quality that local consulting firms provided through traditional in-person meetings and paper-based documentation systems. Many clients expressed preference for Chen's strategic solutions' efficient digital processes, compared to more cumbersome approaches used by established firms that hadn't invested in modern collaboration technologies. The decision to specialize in operational optimization and strategic planning had differentiated Chen's strategic solutions from generalist consulting firms that offered broad service portfolios without deep expertise in specific functional areas. This specialization created competitive advantages through superior knowledge depth and proven methodologies that could address complex operational challenges more effectively than firms using generic consulting frameworks adapted for different industries and business situations. Client testimonials consistently emphasize the practical nature of recommendations and the measurable impact of implemented solutions on business performance and competitive positioning. Unlike traditional consulting engagements that produced comprehensive reports with theoretical recommendations, Chen's strategic solutions focused on actionable strategies that clients could implement immediately using existing resources and capabilities, while achieving quantifiable improvements in operational efficiency and financial performance. The financial management approach during these growth years had emphasized conservative cash flow management and strategic reinvestment in business capabilities that would support continued expansion without creating unnecessary financial risk or operational complexity. Rather than pursuing rapid scaling through employee hiring or facility expansion, I had focused on developing systems and processes that could handle increased client volume while maintaining service quality standards that had established competitive differentiation. Professional development investments had included advanced training in data analytics, project management certification, and industry-specific knowledge development that enhanced service delivery capabilities while maintaining competitive advantages through specialized expertise that clients couldn't easily find elsewhere. These investments required significant time and financial resources, but created sustainable competitive positioning that justified premium pricing and selective client acceptance policies. The relationship with my parents during these developmental years had remained strained due to their persistent inability to understand entrepreneurial career progression and their continued concerns about business stability and long-term financial security. Every family gathering included questions about backup plans and suggestions about corporate employment opportunities that might provide more reliable income and traditional benefits packages. Their framework for evaluating career success remained focused on conventional metrics like salary progression, employer recognition, and benefit package comprehensiveness, rather than entrepreneurial achievements like client satisfaction, business growth, and professional independence. No amount of explanation about project successes or revenue increases could overcome their fundamental belief that business ownership represented risky experimentation that would eventually require abandonment in favor of traditional employment security. Holiday conversations invariably included subtle suggestions about job openings at local companies or government agencies that might value my educational background and work experience, while providing stability and benefits that entrepreneurial ventures couldn't guarantee. Their concern felt genuine, but reflected complete misunderstanding of business development progress and financial achievement that had been accumulating through systematic client service excellence and strategic market positioning. Mom's teaching background had shaped her perspective about career development through steady progression within established institutional frameworks that provided clear advancement pathways and predictable compensation structures. The concept of creating value through independent problem-solving and generating income through client satisfaction fell outside her experiential framework for understanding legitimate career progression and professional achievement. Dad's postal service career had reinforced beliefs about employment security and benefit package importance that made entrepreneurial risk-taking appear financially irresponsible, regardless of potential income advantages or professional satisfaction benefits. His questions about health insurance coverage, retirement planning, and disability protection reflected genuine concern about practical considerations that traditional employment addressed through institutional benefits that independent practitioners needed to arrange privately. Their inability to recognize business success had created emotional distance that affected every aspect of family relationships, from casual phone conversations to major holiday celebrations. I found myself avoiding detailed discussions about client projects or business achievements because their responses consistently focused on perceived risks and limitations, rather than celebrating accomplishments or recognizing professional growth that exceeded their expectations for traditional career progression. The psychological impact of this constant skepticism had been more challenging than any business obstacle I encountered during the startup years. Building professional confidence and client relationships while managing family disapproval required emotional resilience that tested my commitment to entrepreneurial independence and personal integrity. There were moments when traditional employment seemed appealing primarily because it would eliminate family tension and provide validation they could understand and support. But every successful client project reinforced my conviction that independent practice provided optimal platform for professional achievement and client service excellence that wouldn't be possible within traditional consulting firm structures. The autonomy to implement innovative solutions and maintain direct client relationships created job satisfaction that exceeded any benefits traditional employment might provide through organizational security or benefit package comprehensiveness. The fourth year had brought breakthrough opportunities with Fortune 500 clients who recognized the competitive advantages of working with specialized consultants capable of providing personalized attention and innovative solutions that larger firms couldn't deliver efficiently. These relationships generated recurring revenue streams while establishing industry credibility that opened doors to additional high-value opportunities throughout the Pacific Northwest business community. One particularly significant engagement involved optimizing supply chain operations for a major retail corporation struggling with inventory management inefficiencies that were creating customer satisfaction problems and reducing profit margins across multiple product categories. Traditional consulting firms had recommended comprehensive ERP system replacement that would cost millions of dollars and require 2 years of implementation with uncertain results and substantial business disruption during transition periods. My analysis had identified specific data integration problems that created inventory tracking errors and forecasting inaccuracies rather than fundamental system inadequacies requiring complete replacement. The solution involved targeted software, modifications and process improvements that cost 94% less than recommended system replacement while delivering superior operational efficiency and inventory accuracy within 6 months of implementation initiation. The retail corporation's improved performance had generated substantial cost savings and customer satisfaction improvements that exceeded executive expectations while demonstrating the value of specialized expertise and practical solution development. Their public recognition of Chen's strategic solutions contribution had created industry visibility that attracted inquiries from other major corporations seeking similar operational improvements and cost reduction opportunities. By this point, Chen's strategic solutions had evolved from startup venture to established consulting practice with proven track record and industry recognition that supported premium pricing and selective client acceptance policies. The business generated sufficient revenue to support comfortable lifestyle, while funding continued professional development and strategic investments in capability expansion that would position the firm for continued growth within increasingly competitive market environments. The financial management strategies had emphasized building substantial cash reserves that could support business development opportunities or weather economic downturns, without requiring external funding or operational compromises that might affect service quality or client relationship management. This conservative approach had created financial stability that exceeded most traditional employment positions while maintaining operational flexibility that allowed rapid response to market opportunities or client needs. Professional relationships had developed throughout the business community that provided referral sources and collaborative opportunities extending far beyond individual client engagements. Industry recognition through speaking opportunities at professional conferences and publication of case studies in trade magazines had established thought leadership positioning that differentiated Chen's strategic solutions from competitors while creating additional revenue streams through training and educational services. The decision to maintain lean operational structure had proven strategically sound as it preserved profit margins while maintaining operational flexibility that enabled rapid response to client needs or market changes. Rather than building traditional, consulting firm infrastructure with multiple employees and expensive overhead costs, I had focused on developing specialized capabilities and efficient processes that could deliver superior results without bureaucratic complexity or resource constraints that might limit innovation or client service excellence. Technology investments had created competitive advantages through advanced data analysis capabilities and project management systems that often exceeded what larger firms provided through traditional consulting methodologies. Many clients expressed preference for Chen's strategic solutions' efficient digital processes and real-time project communication compared to more cumbersome approaches used by established firms that hadn't modernized their service delivery methods. The geographic expansion had occurred naturally as client relationships and industry recognition created opportunities in new markets without requiring aggressive business development or marketing investments that might compromise profit margins or operational focus. Managing projects across multiple regions had provided valuable experience in scaling operations while maintaining service quality standards that had established competitive differentiation within the consulting market. Client retention rates approached 97% as satisfied customers returned for additional projects and referred Chen strategic solutions to business partners and industry contacts facing similar operational challenges. This organic growth pattern had created sustainable business development that didn't require expensive marketing campaigns or promotional activities that might compromise professional credibility or client relationship quality. The specialization in operational optimization and strategic planning had created industry expertise that commanded premium pricing while providing clear competitive advantages over generalist consulting firms offering broad service portfolios without deep functional knowledge. This positioning had enabled selective client acceptance policies that prioritized strategic fit and learning opportunities rather than revenue generation alone, creating more satisfying professional relationships and superior project outcomes. Financial performance metrics consistently exceeded projections as client demand grew faster than service delivery capacity could expand without compromising quality standards that had established market differentiation. The challenge involved managing growth sustainably while maintaining operational excellence and client satisfaction levels that had created competitive advantages within increasingly crowded consulting markets. Professional recognition through industry awards and conference speaking opportunities had validated strategic positioning decisions while creating additional business development opportunities that didn't require traditional sales activities or promotional investments. The reputation for delivering measurable results and practical solutions had become primary competitive advantage that attracted high-value clients seeking specialized expertise rather than generic consulting services. The personal satisfaction derived from helping clients achieve operational improvements and strategic objectives that enhanced their competitive positioning and financial performance exceeded any benefits traditional employment might provide through organizational security or structured career advancement pathways. Every successful project reinforced conviction that entrepreneurial independence provided optimal platform for professional achievement and client service excellence. Investment in continued education and professional development had maintained competitive advantages while expanding service capabilities that could address evolving client needs and market opportunities. Advanced training in emerging technologies and methodologies had positioned Chen Strategic Solutions at the forefront of industry evolution, rather than following established practices that might become obsolete as business environments and client expectations continued changing. The conservative financial management approach had created substantial business equity and personal assets that provided security exceeding traditional employment benefits while maintaining operational flexibility that enabled rapid response to market opportunities or economic changes. This financial foundation had eliminated family concerns about business stability, while providing resources for strategic investments in growth opportunities and capability expansion. Client testimonials and case study documentation had created marketing assets that attracted new business opportunities without requiring aggressive promotional activities that might compromise professional positioning or client relationship development. The reputation for practical solutions and measurable results had become primary business development tool that generated qualified inquiries from potential clients seeking specialized expertise and proven methodologies. The relationship with my parents had remained complicated despite mounting evidence of business success and financial achievement that exceeded their lifetime earnings through traditional employment. Their persistent concerns about entrepreneurial risks and unstable income reflected deep-seated beliefs about career security that couldn't be overcome through rational discussion about business performance metrics or financial documentation that demonstrated sustainable profitability and growth. Every family interaction continued, including subtle suggestions about corporate employment opportunities that might provide traditional benefits and advancement pathways they understood and valued. Their inability to recognize entrepreneurial achievement as legitimate career success created ongoing tension that affected holiday celebrations and casual conversations about professional development and life planning. The emotional cost of managing family skepticism while building successful business had been more challenging than any operational obstacle encountered during the startup years. Maintaining professional confidence and client relationships while dealing with persistent doubt from people whose approval and support would have provided valuable emotional foundation required psychological resilience that tested commitment to independent practice and personal integrity. But every satisfied client and successful project outcome reinforced conviction that entrepreneurial independence provided optimal platform for professional achievement and personal satisfaction that wouldn't be available through traditional employment structures. The autonomy to implement innovative solutions and maintain direct client relationships created fulfillment that exceeded any benefits organizational security might provide through predictable advancement pathways or comprehensive benefit packages. The fourth year concluded with financial performance and industry recognition that established Chen Strategic Solutions as respected participant in the regional consulting market, with competitive advantages and growth potential that attracted attention from potential acquisition candidates and partnership opportunities. But the strategic decision involved maintaining independent status that preserved operational flexibility and service quality standards, rather than accepting organizational constraints that might compromise client relationships or professional autonomy. This foundation of systematic business development, client relationship excellence, and financial achievement had created the circumstances that made immediate Tesla purchase possible during airport waiting time, while demonstrating to my parents that their concerns about entrepreneurial career choices had been unfounded. The luxury vehicle represented tangible proof of success that couldn't be dismissed through alternative explanations or minimized as temporary good fortune, requiring eventual return to traditional employment security. The years of building Chen Strategic Solutions had prepared me for this moment when family skepticism would be challenged by evidence that demanded recognition and respect, rather than continued concern about practical career decisions and financial responsibility. Every client success and business milestone had contributed to creating professional competence and financial capability that exceeded their expectations while validating entrepreneurial choices they had consistently questioned and discouraged. Standing in their driveway beside the Tesla that represented culmination of 4 years of dedicated effort and strategic thinking, I felt vindicated in every decision that had prioritized professional integrity and client service excellence over family approval and conventional career security. The moment had arrived when their assumptions would be replaced by recognition that their daughter had built something substantial through innovative thinking and business acumen that transcended their framework for evaluating career achievement and personal success. The silence in their driveway stretched beyond uncomfortable into territory that felt almost surreal, as both my parents processed the financial implications of what they were witnessing. Dad walked slowly around the Tesla, his postal workers, practical eye-examining details that revealed craftsmanship and technology investment, far exceeding anything in their experience with vehicle ownership. His fingers traced the door handle's sleek design, while his expression shifted from skeptical concern toward something approaching awe, mixed with confusion about how his daughter had acquired resources for such an extravagant purchase. Mom remained, frozen in place near the front porch, her teacher's analytical mind working to reconcile the luxury vehicle with her persistent narrative about my risky career choices and uncertain financial future. The mathematical reality of Tesla pricing created cognitive dissonance that challenged fundamental assumptions about entrepreneurial income potential and business success metrics. Her understanding of major purchases involved months of careful budgeting and comparative shopping that made immediate acquisition seem impossible or financially irresponsible. The neighborhood's familiar quiet was broken only by distant sounds of evening television programming and the occasional passing car, whose modest appearance emphasized the Tesla's obvious luxury positioning. Street lighting reflected off the vehicle's premium paint finish in ways that highlighted manufacturing quality and attention to detail that extended far beyond basic transportation functionality. Every visual element communicated sophisticated engineering and expensive materials that represented financial investment exceeding their annual household income. Dad's examination had progressed to the interior, where he discovered leather appointments and technology features that further reinforced the premium nature of this purchase. The dashboard's advanced display systems and automated climate controls represented innovation and luxury that exceeded anything he had experienced during 32 years of practical vehicle ownership focused on reliability and maintenance cost minimization. His growing awareness of the vehicle's true value created visible anxiety about my financial judgment and business sustainability. "Jessica, this is a very expensive car," Dad finally announced with the careful precision of someone struggling to process information that challenged long-held beliefs about appropriate spending and financial responsibility. The insurance premiums alone must cost more than most people spend on transportation each month. Are you certain that your business income can support this kind of financial commitment without jeopardizing your long-term security and stability? Arst? His question revealed persistent categorization of my business revenue as uncertain and potentially temporary, requiring more conservative financial management than traditional employment salaries. Despite years of consistent profitability and growth documentation, he continued viewing Chen's strategic solutions as risky venture that might collapse without warning, leaving me unable to meet financial obligations created through optimistic spending decisions. The possibility that my business generated sufficient cash flow for luxury purchases remained outside his conceptual framework for entrepreneurial financial reality. Mom's response built upon Dad's concern while adding her own perspective about responsible money management and the importance of maintaining financial reserves for unexpected emergencies or economic downturns that might affect business income stability. Her teaching background had reinforced systematic approaches to major purchases that emphasized careful consideration of long-term implications and alignment with actual financial capabilities, rather than optimistic projections about future earnings. "Honey, I'm worried that you might be overextending yourself financially," Mom stated with maternal concern that carried undertones of disappointment about my apparent lack of practical judgment. Business income can be unpredictable, and luxury vehicles depreciate rapidly while requiring expensive maintenance and insurance coverage. Perhaps it would be wiser to consider more modest transportation options that align better with your actual income stability and long-term financial planning needs. The suggestion that I had overextended myself financially provided perfect opportunity for introducing information about current business performance and cash flow generation that would challenge their assumptions while demonstrating the strategic nature of this purchase decision. Their concern about financial responsibility revealed how completely they had missed the revenue growth and profit accumulation that had been building systematically while they remained focused on perceived entrepreneurial risks and limitations. "I appreciate your concern about the financial implications," I replied with measured patience that acknowledged their parental perspective while preparing to introduce evidence that would fundamentally alter their understanding of my business circumstances. But I think there might be some misconceptions about my current financial situation and business performance that are influencing your assessment of this purchase decision. Perhaps it would be helpful if I shared some information about Chen Strategic Solutions' recent performance metrics and revenue projections. The suggestion that their assessment might be based on incomplete information created temporary pause in their concern expression while generating curiosity about business details they had consistently avoided discussing due to their discomfort with entrepreneurial career choices. Their persistent avoidance of conversations about client projects and revenue generation had prevented them from understanding the systematic growth and financial achievement that had been accumulating during years they spent worrying about my career stability and long-term security. Dad's practical nature overcame his emotional discomfort with business discussions as he recognized the necessity of understanding financial details that would either validate or contradict his concerns about irresponsible spending and overextension. His postal service background had provided extensive experience with budget management and financial planning that enabled him to evaluate business performance metrics if presented with accurate information rather than assumptions based on outdated startup circumstances. "What kind of revenue is your consulting business generating now?" Dad asked with careful precision that indicated genuine interest in understanding rather than continuing to operate on assumptions that might be incorrect. The numbers would need to be quite substantial to justify this kind of vehicle purchase, without compromising other financial obligations and long-term planning requirements. The direct question about revenue figures provided optimal opportunity for education about business performance that would establish context for understanding not just the Tesla purchase, but the broader financial achievement that had been building while they worried about entrepreneurial risks. The moment required strategic information sharing that would maximize educational impact while maintaining appropriate boundaries about confidential business information and client relationships. Chen Strategic Solutions generated $2.4 million in revenue last year, I replied with matter-of-fact precision that emphasized the routine nature of this performance level within my current business circumstances. The net profit margin averaged 37% after all business expenses, professional development investments, and tax obligations. This year's projections indicate approximately 40% growth based on contracted projects and qualified pipeline opportunities already identified through existing client relationships. The specific dollar amounts created immediate context for understanding the magnitude of financial achievement that had been dismissed or ignored during years of family conversations about career development and life choices. The profit margin information demonstrated business efficiency and strategic management that generated substantial personal income while maintaining operational reinvestment necessary for continued growth and competitive positioning within the consulting market. Both parents stood in stunned silence as they processed the financial implications of my casual explanation while examining physical evidence that supported every claim about business success and revenue generation. The Tesla's obvious quality and premium features confirmed that my business had generated sufficient income to support luxury purchases that exceeded their lifetime savings while maintaining financial responsibility and strategic planning that ensured continued business growth and personal security. Mom's teaching background had provided mathematical skills sufficient for calculating the personal income implications of business revenue and profit margins I had just described. Her expression shifted from maternal concern toward visible shock as she processed the reality that my annual earnings exceeded their combined household income by more than 300%, while representing sustainable business performance, rather than temporary financial windfall requiring careful preservation. $2.4 million? Mom repeated with voice that carried mixture of disbelief and dawning recognition that her understanding of my circumstances required fundamental revision. Jessica, that's more money than your father and I have earned together in the past. 6 years? How is that possible from a consulting business you started just 4 years ago? The question revealed the depth of their misunderstanding about entrepreneurial income potential and business scaling possibilities that existed outside their framework of traditional employment and incremental salary progression. Their combined teaching and postal service careers had never provided exposure to business models that could generate substantial revenue through specialized expertise and client value creation, rather than time-based compensation within organizational salary structures. Dad's response demonstrated his growing awareness that previous assumptions about business viability and financial sustainability had been fundamentally incorrect, while simultaneously struggling to reconcile this new information with his persistent beliefs about entrepreneurial risks and the security advantages of traditional employment. His practical nature demanded logical explanation for revenue generation that seemed almost impossible within his understanding of consulting work and professional service delivery. But how do you find clients willing to pay that kind of money for consulting services? Dad asked with genuine curiosity, mixed with continued skepticism about business model sustainability and competitive positioning. There must be significant competition from established firms with more experience and resources. What makes your services worth premium pricing compared to larger consulting companies that have been operating for decades? His question demonstrated sophisticated understanding of competitive business dynamics, while revealing continued inability to recognize that specialized expertise and innovative problem-solving capabilities could create competitive advantages that transcended organizational size or historical market presence. The assumption that established firms automatically provided superior value reflected his employment background, where organizational longevity typically correlated with career advancement opportunities and compensation levels. The inquiry about competitive differentiation provided excellent opportunity for explaining the market positioning and value proposition that had enabled Chen Strategic Solutions to command premium pricing while maintaining high client satisfaction rates and referral generation. Their growing interest in business mechanics indicated willingness to understand, rather than continuing to dismiss entrepreneurial choices based on outdated assumptions about risk and viability. The key differentiator involves delivering measurable results rather than theoretical recommendations, I explained with confidence that reflected years of successful client relationship development and project outcome documentation. Traditional consulting firms often provide comprehensive reports with strategic suggestions that clients struggle to implement effectively. Chen Strategic Solutions focuses on practical solutions that generate immediate operational improvements and quantifiable financial benefits that exceed project investment costs. The emphasis on measurable results and practical implementation addressed their concerns about business sustainability, while demonstrating the systematic approach to client value creation that had established competitive advantages within the consulting market. The contrast between theoretical recommendations and practical solutions highlighted the innovation and strategic thinking that justified premium pricing while ensuring client satisfaction and referral generation necessary for continued business growth. Mom's curiosity overcame her shock about revenue figures as she began asking questions about specific client projects and implementation strategies that had generated such substantial business success. Her teaching background had provided appreciation for practical problem-solving and measurable outcome achievement that aligned with my description of consulting methodology and client service focus. Can you give us an example of how your approach differs from traditional consulting? Mom inquired with genuine interest that indicated growing understanding rather than continued skepticism about business model viability. What kind of problems do you solve for clients? And how do you measure the success of your recommendations and implementation strategies? The request for specific examples provided opportunity for sharing client success stories that would illustrate the practical nature of my work, while demonstrating the business acumen and technical expertise that had established industry credibility and competitive positioning. The moment required careful balance between providing educational information and maintaining appropriate confidentiality about client relationships and proprietary methodologies. One recent project involved helping a manufacturing company reduce production defects by 64% while increasing overall efficiency and reducing operational costs. I replied with precision that emphasized measurable outcomes and quantifiable value creation. Traditional consultants had recommended expensive equipment replacement costing over $2 million. My analysis identified process optimization opportunities that achieved superior results for less than $200,000 while completing implementation in 6 months rather than 2 years. The specific performance metrics and cost comparison data created tangible context for understanding the value proposition that enabled premium pricing while ensuring client satisfaction and competitive differentiation. The dramatic difference between traditional recommendations and innovative solutions demonstrated the analytical thinking and practical expertise that had established Chen Strategic Solutions' reputation for delivering exceptional results within compressed timelines and budget constraints. Dad's practical orientation enabled him to appreciate the significance of achieving superior results at substantially lower costs while maintaining faster implementation timelines that minimized business disruption and competitive exposure. His understanding of operational efficiency and cost management through postal service experience provided framework for recognizing the business value created through innovative problem-solving and strategic implementation approaches. That's impressive cost savings and performance improvement. Dad acknowledged with growing respect for the analytical thinking and practical problem-solving capabilities that had generated client satisfaction and business referrals. But how do you convince clients to trust your recommendations over established consulting firms with longer track records and more extensive resources? His question demonstrated evolving understanding of business development challenges while maintaining curiosity about competitive positioning strategies that had enabled successful market entry and client acquisition. The shift from skeptical concern toward genuine interest indicated growing recognition that my business success represented systematic achievement rather than temporary good fortune requiring eventual return to traditional employment security. The inquiry about client trust and credibility development provided opportunity for explaining the relationship building and reputation management strategies that had established competitive advantages within sophisticated market environments, where decision-makers typically preferred working with established firms whose capabilities and reliability were already validated through previous client experiences and industry recognition. Client trust develops through demonstrated competence and measurable results rather than organizational size or historical market presence, I explained, with confidence derived from years of successful relationship development and project outcome. Documentation. The initial projects involved conservative pricing and performance guarantees that eliminated client risk, while providing opportunities to demonstrate capabilities and implementation effectiveness. Success with early clients generated referrals and case study documentation that established credibility with larger prospects. The emphasis on demonstrated competence and performance guarantees addressed their concerns about competitive disadvantages, while illustrating the strategic thinking and risk management approaches that had enabled business development without aggressive marketing or promotional investments that might compromise professional credibility. The progression from conservative initial pricing to premium fee structures demonstrated systematic reputation building and value recognition that supported sustainable business growth. Mom's growing understanding of business development strategies enabled her to appreciate the strategic patience and systematic approach that had enabled competitive positioning within markets dominated by established firms with superior resources and institutional relationships. Her teaching experience had provided similar challenges regarding credibility establishment and outcome demonstration that created framework for understanding professional development outside traditional organizational structures. "It sounds like you've built something quite substantial," Mom observed with tone that carried mixture of surprise and emerging pride about achievements she had failed to recognize during years of focusing on perceived risks and limitations. "I think we may have misunderstood the scope and success of your business development. The revenue figures you mentioned suggest financial achievement that exceeds anything we anticipated for entrepreneurial ventures." The acknowledgement that they had misunderstood my business circumstances represented significant progress in family relationship dynamics, while providing foundation for continued education about entrepreneurial success and professional achievement that had been building systematically while they worried about career stability and long-term security. Their growing recognition created opportunity for establishing new patterns of family interaction based on accurate information rather than outdated assumptions about business viability and financial sustainability. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, whose evening walk had brought her past my parents' house during our driveway discussion about the Tesla and business performance. Mrs. Patterson had known my family for over 15 years, through neighborhood social activities and casual interactions that had provided her with general knowledge about family circumstances and career developments without detailed understanding of recent business success. "Good evening, Jessica," Mrs. Patterson called out with friendly enthusiasm that carried curiosity about the luxury vehicle parked in my parents' modest driveway. "That's a beautiful car. Are you visiting for a special occasion, or is this a new addition to the family? Fleet?" Her question created immediate social pressure for my parents to explain the Tesla's presence without having fully processed the business success information that had challenged their assumptions about my financial circumstances and career achievement. The neighbor's obvious appreciation for the vehicle's luxury positioning created external validation of the purchase significance while requiring family response that would either acknowledge my success or attempt to minimize its importance through alternative explanations. Dad's diplomatic skills activated as he recognized the necessity of responding to neighborly curiosity while managing his own evolving understanding of circumstances that had enabled such an extravagant purchase. His postal service background had provided extensive experience with community relationships and appropriate information sharing that maintained family privacy while addressing legitimate social interests. "It's Jessica's new car," Dad replied, with measured precision that acknowledged ownership without elaborating on financial implications or business circumstances that had enabled the purchase. "She just arrived from a business trip and stopped by to visit before heading home for the evening." The response maintained family dignity while avoiding detailed explanations about business success that challenged previous conversations with neighbors about my career choices and financial prospects. Mrs. Patterson's continued interest in the vehicle created opportunity for either expanded explanation or diplomatic deflection depending on my parents' comfort level with sharing information about changed circumstances. Mrs. Patterson's appreciation for automotive quality enabled her to recognize premium features and manufacturing excellence that indicated substantial financial investment in transportation that exceeded basic functionality requirements. Her questions about specific features and performance capabilities demonstrated genuine interest while creating social pressure for more detailed explanation about acquisition circumstances and business success that had enabled such luxury purchase. "The Tesla Model S is quite an impressive vehicle," Mrs. Patterson observed with appreciation that reflected her own interest in automotive innovation and environmental technology. "I've read about their performance capabilities and advanced features. The price point represents significant investment in transportation technology. Jessica must be doing very well with her consulting business to afford such premium automotive engineering." Her comment created direct acknowledgement of business success while providing my parents with external validation of achievement they had struggled to recognize or accept. The neighbor's obvious respect for both the vehicle and the financial accomplishment it represented offered framework for family pride rather than continued concern about career choices and financial responsibility. Mom's response demonstrated her growing adjustment to revised understanding of my business circumstances while managing social expectations about family achievement and career development within neighborhood community dynamics. Her teaching background had provided experience with public representation of family success and appropriate acknowledgement of children's accomplishments without excessive pride or boastful behavior. Yes, Jessica has been quite successful with her consulting firm, Mom replied with tone that carried emerging pride, mixed with continued adjustment to information that challenged years of assumptions about entrepreneurial risks and financial limitations. We're still learning about the scope of her business achievements and the growth she's accomplished over the past few years. The admission that they were still learning about my business success provided honest acknowledgement of previous misunderstanding, while creating foundation for continued family relationship evolution based on accurate information rather than outdated concerns about career stability and long-term security. The public nature of this acknowledgement added weight to their recognition, while establishing new narrative about family achievement and professional accomplishment. Mrs. Patterson's enthusiasm about my success created positive social reinforcement that encouraged continued family discussion about business development and financial achievement, rather than returning to previous patterns of concern and skepticism about entrepreneurial career choices. Her genuine interest in consulting work and client relationship development provided external validation of career legitimacy and professional respectability that had been questioned within family dynamics. Consulting can be such rewarding work when you find the right niche and build strong client relationships, Mrs. Patterson commented with professional appreciation that reflected her own career experience in healthcare administration and strategic planning. The ability to help organizations solve complex problems while building independent practice requires considerable expertise and business acumen. Jessica should be very proud of what she's accomplished in such a relatively short time period. Her recognition of the business skills and professional competence required for successful consulting practice provided authoritative validation from someone with relevant experience in organizational management and strategic problem-solving. The acknowledgement that significant achievement had occurred within short time frame addressed family concerns about career progression while highlighting the exceptional nature of accomplishments that exceeded typical professional development timelines. The social interaction was creating positive momentum for continued family discussion about business success and career achievement, while providing external perspective that challenged previous assumptions about entrepreneurial risks and financial viability. Mrs. Patterson's obvious respect for professional accomplishment offered framework for family pride and support rather than continued worry about practical career decisions and long-term security. After Mrs. Patterson continued her evening walk, we returned our attention to processing the revelation about business performance and financial achievement that had enabled casual luxury vehicle purchase during airport waiting time. The external validation from someone with professional experience had reinforced the legitimacy of entrepreneurial success while providing social context that made family pride more appropriate than continued concern about career choices. Dad's evolving understanding enabled him to ask more sophisticated questions about business development strategies and competitive positioning that had generated substantial revenue growth while maintaining client satisfaction and referral generation. His practical orientation focused on operational aspects of consulting delivery and the systematic approaches that had established market credibility and sustainable competitive advantages. How do you manage project delivery and client communication when you're working with multiple companies simultaneously? Dad inquired with genuine curiosity about business logistics and operational efficiency that reflected growing appreciation for the complexity and professional skill required for successful consulting practice. The coordination and quality Control requirements must be quite challenging when dealing with sophisticated clients who have high expectations and demanding timelines. His question demonstrated sophisticated understanding of business operations, while acknowledging the professional competence and organizational skills required for managing complex client relationships and project deliverables. The shift from skeptical concern about career viability toward respectful inquiry about business management indicated fundamental change in family dynamics and recognition of professional achievement. The inquiry about operational management provided opportunity for explaining the systems and processes that had enabled business scaling while maintaining service quality standards that differentiated Chen's strategic solutions from competitors, who struggled with growth management and client satisfaction consistency. The discussion could illustrate the strategic thinking and professional development that had created sustainable competitive advantages within increasingly sophisticated market environments. Effective project management involves systematic communication protocols and clearly defined deliverable schedules that ensure client expectations are met while maintaining quality standards across all engagements, I explained with confidence. Derived from years of successful project coordination and client relationship management, technology investments in collaboration platforms and document management systems enable efficient coordination regardless of geographic location or project complexity levels. The emphasis on systematic approaches and technology investments demonstrated the professional sophistication and strategic planning that had enabled business growth while maintaining operational excellence and client satisfaction levels that supported premium pricing and referral generation. The contrast between organized business management and stereotypical assumptions about independent contractor limitations highlighted the systematic development and professional competence that had established industry credibility. Mom's teaching background enabled her to appreciate the organizational skills and systematic planning required for managing multiple complex projects while maintaining quality standards and client relationship excellence. Her experience with educational planning and resource coordination provided framework for understanding the professional competence and strategic thinking necessary for successful consulting practice development. The organizational requirements must be quite demanding, Mom acknowledged with growing respect for the professional skills and systematic approaches that had enabled business success and client satisfaction achievement. Managing multiple client relationships while maintaining quality standards and meeting demanding deadlines requires considerable expertise and dedication. I'm beginning to understand why your services command premium pricing and generate such strong client loyalty. Her recognition of professional competence and business management skills represented significant evolution in family understanding, while providing foundation for continued relationship development based on accurate appreciation of career achievement and financial accomplishment. The acknowledgement that my work required considerable expertise validated entrepreneurial choices that had been questioned and dismissed during previous family discussions about career development and life planning. The conversation had evolved from shock about vehicle purchase toward genuine interest in business development and professional achievement that had enabled such substantial financial success within relatively short time frame. Their questions demonstrated growing appreciation for entrepreneurial competence while creating opportunity for continued education about market positioning and competitive advantages that had established sustainable business growth and industry recognition. The psychological impact of this recognition extended beyond immediate family relationship improvement toward validation of career choices and life planning decisions that had required courage and persistence despite family skepticism and concern. About entrepreneurial risks, the moment represented transformation from defensive explanation of business circumstances toward confident sharing of professional achievement and strategic thinking that had created financial independence and career satisfaction. Standing beside the Tesla that symbolized tangible proof of business success, I felt profound satisfaction about the systematic development and client relationship excellence that had enabled this demonstration of financial capability and professional competence. The luxury vehicle represented more than transportation. It embodied the innovation, strategic thinking, and client service dedication that had transformed entrepreneurial risk into sustainable competitive advantage and financial achievement that exceeded family expectations and industry standards. The evening air carried autumn coolness that emphasized the significance of this moment, when family skepticism encountered evidence that demanded recognition and respect, rather than continued concern about practical career decisions and financial responsibility. Their growing understanding created foundation for new patterns of family interaction, based on accurate information and appreciation for professional accomplishment, rather than outdated assumptions about business viability and entrepreneurial limitations. The conversation would continue as we moved inside their house, where additional discussion about business development and future growth opportunities would further challenge their assumptions while demonstrating the strategic thinking and market positioning that had created opportunities for continued expansion and industry leadership within specialized consulting niches that combined innovation with practical implementation and measurable client value creation. Inside their living room, the atmosphere had shifted completely from the defensive explanations that typically characterized our family gatherings. Dad sat forward in his recliner, genuinely engaged for the first time in years as he asked detailed questions about client acquisition strategies and project management systems. Mom had abandoned her usual suggestions about stable employment opportunities, instead inquiring about expansion plans and professional development goals that could enhance my already impressive business performance. The transformation was remarkable to witness. These were the same parents who had spent Christmas dinner last year expressing concern about my hobby business and suggesting I consider applying for teaching positions in the local school district. Now they hung on every word as I described the Chicago contract negotiations and explained how referral networks had generated opportunities in Portland and Vancouver markets. "I owe you an apology," Mom said quietly, her teacher's honesty compelling her to acknowledge the magnitude of her misjudgment. "I've been treating your business like a phase you needed to outgrow, instead of recognizing the expertise and dedication you've been building. The success you've achieved far exceeds anything your father and I ever accomplished in our careers." Dad nodded slowly, his postal worker's practical nature finally grasping the mathematical reality of what I had created. "When you mentioned that your quarterly profit exceeds our annual household income, that really put things in perspective," he admitted. "I kept waiting for you to realize that entrepreneurship was too risky, but you were building something I couldn't even comprehend." The evening's revelation had created a permanent shift in our family dynamics. Their forgotten airport pickup had inadvertently provided the perfect stage for demonstrating exactly how wrong their assumptions had been about my capabilities and achievements. The Tesla sitting in their driveway served as undeniable proof that their concerns about financial stability and career security had been completely misplaced. As I prepared to leave, Mom walked me to the door with obvious pride. "Replacing years of worried disappointment. I'll be telling everyone at school about my daughter, the successful business owner," she said, her voice carrying the maternal satisfaction she had never been able to express about my entrepreneurial choices. The drive home in my new Tesla felt symbolic of the journey from family skepticism toward recognition and respect. Their forgotten pickup had become the catalyst for a conversation that should have happened years earlier, when systematic dismissal of my achievements had created emotional distance that affected every family interaction. The irony wasn't lost on me that their neglect had provided the perfect opportunity to demonstrate financial success and professional competence that could no longer be questioned or minimized. What began as disappointment about broken family commitments had evolved into vindication of every risk I had taken and every conventional wisdom I had ignored while building Chen's strategic solutions. 6 months later, when Dad called to ask for my advice about optimizing postal service delivery routes in his district, I knew our relationship had fundamentally changed. The daughter they had dismissed as impractical dreamer had become someone whose expertise they sought and whose achievements they celebrated. The forgotten airport pickup had transformed from family disappointment into the foundation of mutual respect and understanding that enriched our relationships in ways that years of defensive explanations never could have accomplished. Sometimes, the moments that feel like rejection become the catalysts for recognition that changes everything. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.